Welcome to ZB Sports, and I'm arguing that Zion Williamson is the Rookie of the Year despite only playing 19 games this season. Even though Morant played fantastic, there is nobody comparable to Zion Williamson and what he did. In his first opening night game back, coming off an injury, he dropped 22 points, and despite people saying he can't shoot and everything, went 4 for 4 from three and led off the bat with 22 points. And further going along the season, he had a 7-game stretch where he faced top opponents, as in LeBron, who he put up 35 points up against, and top-seeded teams, OKC, 31, Portland, 32, Portland again, 25. He went on a tear. Towards the end, where the season got cut to the stop, he was averaging 32 points for what he was playing. And if you look at his per 36, he's averaging 7 more points than Morant would. And here's my point. Zion Williamson was not even the most focal point. Most of the times, he would not even shoot the most shots on his team. It would mostly be Brandon Ingram. He also has J.J. Redick there. He has Lonzo Ball. He has Drew Holiday. He's probably the second go-to option now. He was starting to get to the first, but he doesn't even get as many looks as he needs. And sometimes he doesn't get the ball as much because he's not the first option. Morant is always having the ball in his hands. He's always passing. So he's going to lead more in assists. He's the point guard. But he does not shoot as efficient. And his lack of dominant, like Zion, he's not stoppable. You can't stop him once he's in the paint. He's literally shooting 60% in there. That is incredible. That is like he's averaging he's like a mini baby Shaq in my comparison. What's your take that Morant should be the Rookie of the Year? What's your take?
Well, first of all, any player in the NBA can go on a hot streak. They're all insanely talented. Look how many games Zion has played. He's played 19 games.
But he's dominated every game.
Morant has played 40 more games. You said he can shoot. Then how come he only takes 0.7 threes per game?
He hasn't shot that much, but
Brandon, he takes
46% when he shoots them.
He takes 15 shots a game and only takes 0.7 threes. 15 shots is a lot of shots.
His worst game this year was 14 points. His next worst was 15. After that, he didn't score a game below 20 points. His worst game was a 14-point game with 9 rebounds and an assist. That was his worst game.
Zion is primarily a scorer. So you can't really compare the stats because Morant is not primarily a scorer. Yes, Morant averages 18 points a game. He also averages 7 assists. Morant has players on his team like Jaren Jackson, who's primarily a scorer, Dylan Brooks, who's a good shooter, and Valanciunas, who's primarily a big man scorer. So he's facilitating more than he is shooting, and he still takes 13.6 shots a game, and he scores 18 points per game, but he's still facilitating most of the game. Morant also, when it's time for the clutch in the fourth quarter, when it's a close game, the Grizzlies go to Morant to get buckets. Pelicans don't go to Zion Williamson to get buckets in crunch time. They go to Brandon Ingram. Brandon Ingram had the game against the Jazz this year. But my point is, Morant should get the Rookie of the Year award because he's the MVP of that team. Zion, as you said, isn't even the first option. He might not even be the second option.
Exactly. That shows how dominant he is, being the second option, and he's still putting up 23 points in 30 minutes. That's absurd because he's shooting 60%. That goes to show how good he is.
No, because he's not getting the Morant goes against. This league is primarily a guard and a small forward league. Agreed?
Yes.
So
yeah, definitely.
Morant is going up against probably the toughest competition in the NBA every night. The best player on most teams is the point guard or the shooting guard, and usually they guard Morant. You look at the Pelicans, you have Lonzo Ball to guard, You have Drew Holiday to guard, and you have Brandon Ingram to guard. Brandon Ingram, the best defender, is going on Brandon Ingram. So Zion is getting the second best or the third best defender on that team on him. He's going to shoot better than John Morant, who's getting the top defender guard put on him.
I agree, but they had one game head-to-head. John Morant had 16 points, 7 for 12, and 3 assists, 2 turnovers. Zion played 1 less minute and had 24 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. John Morant's the point guard, but Zion still had the same amount of assists at him and 8 more points and 1 less shot. And Zion creates for himself. He averages 8 free throws attempts a game. So he's going to the line and he's scoring. And in a head-to-head matchup, they beat him by 30. They beat them by 30. Because
the Pelicans are a better team.
Yes, obvious. But the Pelicans were shit before Zion joined. Once Zion joined them, they were winning games. They literally almost beat the Lakers. Zion's first like a 15th game back. They were that good to the point now they could almost beat the Lakers. And
well, I mean,
if the season played out, I wouldn't be surprised the Pelicans somehow snuck into that 8th seed. It depending on the Zion's played. Zion's changed the Pelicans team. He makes Lonzo better, a better passer, because Lonzo's a great passer and Zion's great to feed him down the court. It makes the team way better in every aspect. And Zion's might not be the best player. Brandon Ingram could arguably be better, but at the end, they started giving the ball to him more, and Zion started playing more and was averaging more.
Brandon Ingram's still the go-to guy on that team, though.
Yes, but come next year, Zion will be the best player on that team.
I don't know, because yeah, he's able to play in this league. I'm not trying to say he's not, but he's in a tough spot where he's a power forward, but he's the height of a small forward shooting guard. So he's only played 19 games, so teams haven't necessarily found a way to guard him yet. But I feel like once there's a way.
He is so dominant for his size and his explosiveness. He's just dunking the ball and laying it up over people.
How long is that explosiveness going to last, though?
John Morant's mostly explosiveness, too, if you're arguing.
But John Morant has a good handle, a good jump shot. He can pass. John Morant does everything. He's clutch on defense and offense. You remember the Kyrie Irving game when he blocked him?
Yes.
At the end of the game? I don't know. And it's hard. You can't argue field goal percentage because John Morant's a point guard. He's not taking layups every shot. Zion's 90% of his shots are inside. Look. His 2-point attempts per game, 14.7 out of his 15.4 shots.
2-point shots, but that goes to show he's making all of them. He's dominant. Even if he lost some explosiveness, which I feel he wasn't even fully healthy when he was playing those 19 games, and he was still doing that because he was not dunking, and I feel like he was not trying to block his shots as much as I saw at Duke University. I really feel that he is more to come, and I think he was still trying to get better into shape. And for him being that dominant for his size, he's going up against centers and just dismantling them. He was going against Anthony Davis, JaVale McGee, Dwight Howard, and he put up 35 against them. And that's the biggest team in the NBA.
I can't. I feel like to win an award for the year, you have to play the year. If you look back to Malcolm Brogdon, Joel Embiid, and Dario Saric, those were the finalists in, I want to say, a few years ago. I can't remember the exact year. But Joel Embiid had the best stats. He only played 32 games that year. Malcolm Brogdon played most of the season, if not the entire season. Who won the award? Malcolm Brogdon.
That is true. But Zion was even more dominant than Joel Embiid was.
But my point is, just because you're more dominant in a stretch of 19 games doesn't mean that you're going to win an award over a player that was very close to being as dominant who played 60 games.
That's
40
Zion
games is a lot.
he didn't have – but the thing I can argue is 19 games, He didn't have one game like bad. Like, he was dominating every game. His worst game was 14 points. His worst game, 14 points.
But
in 19 games.
See, 19 games isn't enough for a rookie to go through. Rookies go through a drought in the middle end of the season because they're not used to the length of the season. Zion hadn't hit that. He's only played 19 games. John Morant is probably hitting that right now.
Even if he hit that, he'd still be averaging 20 because he's in the paint. He's not tired.
My point is, he hasn't played enough games to experience the entire NBA atmosphere, so he shouldn't win an NBA award for Rookie of the Year when you don't play the whole year.
I have to
or most of the year.
If the year played out, for sure Zion's winning this award. If they were played 35 games then, and his worst game was 14 points, and he's averaging like 25, 24, there's no argument.
But he's still at Duke. He still plays mid-30s, 40 games. In college, you play 30-something games in the regular season, and then you have March Madness when that gets added on. So he still is he's in a college season right now. He hasn't experienced the 82-game season. Now, John Morant hasn't either, but he's played every game or almost every game. You can't give him an award for 19 games.
I think he's phenomenal enough to get the award in 19 games, but let's leave it up to the guys in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe if you like this video. Thanks for watching.